engaged some of her community efforts with Vision 30, and we've done.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for Community Connection. And you'll be glad that you joined today. We have, I think, just a really cool guest. I've been hearing a lot about her. Just met her for the first time this morning. But Claudia, there's not a day go by that you don't mention her name.
Way to start out with a lie.
It's not a lie.
I don't say her name every single time.
Every time.
No,
because you're so excited about it.
I am excited, but I don't say her name every day. That was kind of a lie.
Well, thanks for calling it out right in front of her.
Well, I don't want her to think I'm just like a freak stalker or something.
So why don't you introduce us to our guest?
Okay, so many of you might already know the guest that Dr. Allison Morrison Shetler. I got it right. I don't call her all that because that's a lot of words. But she's the president of the University of Lynchburg and has a real heart for the community and has engaged some of her community efforts with Vision 30. And we've done some work together in getting collaboration happening. And so we want to hear her accent because that's the fun
So
part.
let's go ahead and get that over with.
Let's go ahead and have that happen. So I want to hear the story of how someone with your accent comes from wherever that accent is and gets to Virginia and all the stops along the way real quickly. So let's see how fast you can do that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to be here. This is very exciting for me to be part of this organization and to be part of the community. So I am from West Coast Scotland, so that's where the accent comes from. And I have I had the great fortune to have a great career that has taken me to live for 3 years in London, 7 years in Germany, in Dortmund. Moving then, actually in Dortmund, I met my husband, Bob, and so a girl from Scotland met a boy from Kansas. We got married there, and then in '93 we came to the States. And started off at Wesleyan University in Connecticut. Moved over to Georgia Southern University, was there for about 7 years before going to the University of Central Florida. Was there for about 8 years, and then moved to North Carolina, to Elon University. And then my last place before coming to Lynchburg was Western Carolina University. And I was the provost and then the interim chancellor there. I was there for about 6.5 years. And then I came to Lynchburg.
You saved the best for last.
Saved the best for last. And I am the president here at the University of Lynchburg. So that's how I got here. Mainly, we came to the States because of Bob. But after that, he has followed me throughout my career. So I'm very, 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 very blessed to have somebody who's put their career to, not to one side. He taught the whole time, but for me to come to Lynchburg and for him to be the first gentleman, he's very proud of that.
Oh, good. It would be hard if he wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. So I happen to know the year you got hired, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about when you got hired and what happened? You came along with something else that hit our country. What was that?
Absolutely. Right. Well, actually, I was hired. I was actually formally hired to come to Lynchburg right in the middle of the pandemic.
Wow.
When it was announced that I was going to be coming. That was actually November of 2019, before COVID was even a twinkle in anybody's thought process. However, I then had about 8 or 9 months before I actually became president on August 1st of 2020. And so it was a great opportunity for me to spend those 8 or 9 months finding out about the community and learning about the community. I love to be engaged with the community. And so the first thing I did was, of course, wasn't really able to come to Lynchburg after March of 2020. But between November and March, I was on campus a lot, and I got to know the campus really well and got to know the students really well and the faculty and staff. But then everything closed down in March. And so I just went online. I became a member of Zoom, like everybody else in the country and world, and reached out to faculty, staff, students, but then really right into the community to learn about the community, to talk to people about how the community would engage with the University of Lynchburg when I became president. I found out that we were already pretty engaged, and I just wanted to take it to the next level. And so it was an interesting time during COVID, because actually for the first year that I was president, wasn't really out in the community because everybody wasn't out. But I did everything over the internet, and it really was fabulous because I got to have one-on-one conversations with people that were far more meaningful than if I had met 100 people in the ballroom on campus and being able to say hello and move on. I literally had close to probably 200 or 300 one-on-one small group meetings before I became president.
May I ask, in your research of us before you came as a community, what stood out in your mind as either an opportunity for the university or a challenge for the university and for us as a community?
It was interesting to talk to people and hear that there was this is a very giving community. It's one that's very philanthropically accessible and engaged. There were a lot of people who were coming together to talk about the challenges that were happening within the city of Lynchburg or in the region. And I heard over and over again, we do a lot of conversation, moving things towards action seemed to be problematic. And if people came together as a group and then, after a year or two of talking, a group would say, well, we're going to go off and do our own thing. And then they'd go off and do their own thing, and there may not be as much action as would. So I saw the opportunity for the University of Lynchburg to be that convener. It's something I've done in the past, and so I was able to think about who are the thought leaders in the community, who are the action-oriented people. And so I was fortunate enough when I came to Lynchburg to bring people together because I already had built those relationships.
Had it always been your emphasis in your other places to do the same types of things in the community?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, the model that I brought here of the convening that ultimately became Lynchburg Tomorrow, I did at Western Carolina University, and I also did at Elon in different ways. At both Elon and Western, I created a lifelong learning institute called the Life At. So there's a Life at Elon, there's a Life at Western Carolina, and now there's a Life at Lynchburg. And that's for adults over the age of 50 who are just interested in lifelong learning. So that was another way in which I could bring people to the campus and to the community and bring them together around learning.
Claudia, how did the two of you meet, and how's that developed in the short time that it's been?
I think Allison Jordan introduced us, didn't she?
Yep.
And it was kind of funny, actually, how we met, because or was it Christy? It was either Allison or Christy, and both of them are thinking, if they're watching this, I can't believe she forgot it was me. But one of the two of them, I think it might have been Christy, actually, because we were talking. Yes, it was Christy. Christy and I were talking, and she said, "You've got to meet Allison at the University of Lynchburg." I said, "Okay, I'm up for meeting anybody, because I have one-on-ones all the time." And so she introduces it by email, and I hit reply all, and it's president. And you hear this. It's like, oh, I kind of missed the detail that it was the president. So I didn't know that I was saying, hey, yeah, I'd like to meet the president. I just said, hey, if there's somebody that's passionate about the community and wants to be connected, introduce me. I'll meet with her. And then I was a little bit shocked to find out it was the president. But that's how we met. And I came up to campus and walked up a lot of stairs.
There are a lot of stairs on that campus.
Dr. Allison didn't know I probably should have used the elevator. So by the time we got like 6 steps from the top, she looks over at me and I'm panting and turning white. And she says, we do have elevators. Maybe I should have suggested that. So that's how that went. We went to the dining commons. We had a lovely meal there with the students. Just they were around, but she and I had a conversation. and it's gone from there. And we've gotten to know each other and seeing her heart for the same things we have a heart for, which is we can do better together. We can, the more we talk, the better. And the fact that Dr. Allison likes to get things done. She just doesn't like to talk, so I like that about her. So I'd like to hear the Lynchburg tomorrow. I think there's 6 areas. Am I right, or is it getting bigger than that?
And growing, yes.
Okay.
So it started off, as I mentioned, just bringing the thought leaders together. And we ended up with about 21 people in the room, and I had set aside 3 hours. It was a Saturday morning. People were committed to coming to find out what's going on. And our first meeting was, what are the 3 top things that we could do together using the faculty and staff and the resources of the university as thought leaders to help the community? And how can we make those connections? So that first meeting was really just a convening to get to know everybody and to start to think about that. And we came out with 3 things: access to affordable healthcare, access to healthy food, and leadership development. And these are all things, particularly the leadership development, that I felt that we could really contribute to the community, because we have just fabulous faculty and staff who are committed to each of those 3 things, but leadership development in particular. And so I brought on board Owen Cardwell and Dr. Roger Jones, Dr. Cardwell and Dr. Jones, both amazing people in the community, have done amazing things to support the community in education arenas. And so we came up with those 3 things. And then the next convening was, okay, what's the asset map under each of those areas? What other organizations are working in healthy food, affordable healthcare, and leadership development? And we reached out to make sure we weren't stepping on anybody's toes. And as a result of doing that asset mapping, we identified some partners who just were really eager to work together. And the third convening that we had was then saying, okay, what's our plan? How do we move forward with this? And so outcomes so far with the access to affordable healthcare, we have a MOU and a great collaboration with the Community Access Network, which is basically a medical centre for the underinsured and non-insured in our community, working with Christina Delzingaro. She is fabulous and just a great partnership there. So we actually have faculty who are working there, and they bring students to care for patients as part of their studies and their learning. And that's, as I say, the impact has been fabulous. The access to healthy food has been, again, wonderful. The Greater Lynchburg Foundation identified 5 entities that were working in that arena. And so we partnered them with faculty, and the faculty then helped those entities set goals, metrics, do the assessment, and then analyze the results. And we just recently brought all 5 entities together and gave them the results of the findings. Again, working together. This is not a we're here to help you or tell you what to do. This is very much a collaboration, a partnership. And then the leadership development is burgeoning on campus. We've done a lot in developing the Leadership Academy for our faculty and staff. And we are now ready under Dr. Mike Bonnet to take this out into the community. And so we're putting contracts out to the community who want to do leadership development for their C-suites or their middle managers or whatever. And so we're about to start on that adventure as well. So those were the top 3, but again, it started to grow as we're working with Patrick Henry Services, Family Services. We're working with so many people, Iron Lives, I mean, you mentioned it. And what we're doing is supporting each other to be successful.
So I think we have a commercial. Is that right?
Yeah, because I want to mention, university offers a doctorate in leadership. Is that right?
We have a non-profit leadership undergraduate program, and we have an educational doctorate.
Yeah. So that's a nice plug.
It is.
And so we do have a commercial for University of Lynchburg. So let's take a break and watch that real quick.
Everyone has a story. A triumph, a time they fell short, a gift, a light all their own. Every story has a beginning. For us, our stories began long before we got here, at the moment we discovered we had something to share with the world. But no matter where we've been, our journeys weave together at the University of Lynchburg. Since 1903, we've grown from a handful of students to a diverse, dynamic community of students, professors, staff, and alumni around the world. In a community that supports who we are and who we want to be, we're on a journey to find where our passions lead so we can lead others to find theirs. Together, we have more experience, we have more knowledge than we do alone. Eventually, our stories will lead us to a path all our own, and we will share our passions with the world. No matter the journey we choose, the University of Lynchburg is, and always will be, our home.
Here's to life and here's to Lynchburg, to the years we spent together. I don't know when or how we gathered, but I know I'm home. So here's to love and here's to the heartache, all the laughter, every mistake. I don't know how our lives will be changed, but here I am home. Here I'm home.
You must be pretty proud to be a part of something like that.
It is awesome. It's an amazing, fabulous place. And the students are so passionate about paying it forward and giving back to the community. Every day when I go to the dining hall, I hear that enthusiasm for life, that enthusiasm for making a difference in the lives of others. And that's really our mantra. We are here to make a difference in the lives of others. And that's where the partnerships with the community are so important, because our students are out in the community getting great experiences, and we find that once they're out and working with the community, they don't want to leave, and so they actually stay in Lynchburg and give back to the economic development of the area as well.
That's a great asset for this community. And this initiative that you guys are working on could be a game changer, as a person I know likes to say all the time, a game changer.
Yeah, but we're not ready to talk about that too much today, I don't think.
Okay.
But there is something, I think that one of the things that's been really cool about Vision 30 is that there are places where what all of our partners do really intersect with Vision 30, but there are also plenty of things they're doing that are outside of that. And yet I think that higher ed in and of itself is definitely prevention, right?
Oh, sure.
If kids come to a campus and they learn the skills that they need to learn, not just the academic skills, but they learn the skills they need to be good humans and impact their community. Not only would their children not be in foster care someday, but they will be able to influence the communities that they're in. But some of the things that you're doing are kind of central to what we're doing. And one of the things that you haven't talked about yet is Lacey. And I think that was something that the people who are involved with children and with the Vision 30 would love to hear about. So I wanted you to highlight that quick before we move on.
Well, I always love the acronym, LACY, when you're talking about Lynchburg Area Sports Initiative, right? Youth Initiative. And it was started really by a conversation I had with Todd Olson, who's the coach for the women's soccer team. And for many years, he has taken the women's soccer team to Africa on mission trip. And part of what they do is after dinner, they play sports, soccer, with the kids that are in the areas that they're working. But of course, with COVID, all of that ground to a halt. They weren't able to do that. So Todd and I spoke, and he said, we need to do something in Lynchburg. There's a need in Lynchburg. So fast forward, Nat Marshall came to the table, and we just made a call out to the nonprofits and said, does anybody want to be interested in? Is anybody interested in supporting youth be successful? And of course, for the whole of the COVID, people were sitting at home, not being out and about and exercising and doing all the good things that teams bring to one's lives. So we started Lacey, and it's so far we've impacted about 600 plus youth. First thing we did was we brought them to campus for a day of play, where they learned basketball and lacrosse and tennis and hip hop and all sorts of different kinds of things. And we had about 130 students come to that first day, and just since then it's grown and grown and grown. And part of what we do is the churches were really good because they transported them to campus, so there wasn't a transportation issue. But when they were on campus, we took really great care of them, gave them a healthy meal in our dining hall, and they were just blown away because they were there with the students, and there was, the food was great. And if this is what college is going to be like, I'm going to come to college, and I'm going to come to the University of Lynchburg, and it's great. But more than anything else, we got them engaged with each other. We got them out. We got them playing sports, working together. And our student athletes are the ones who support and help that. So if they're playing basketball, we had the basketball team and the men's basketball team and the women's soccer team, and so many of the other sports have come together to support that initiative. And since then, we've had pop-up clinics throughout the city where our students go with a coach, and we tell people that we're going to be doing a pop-up clinic, and the kids arrive. The big thing is that they go home with the equipment they need to continue to do this kind of stuff.
Right.
And that blossomed into, we were getting so many donations of equipment and, basketballs and soccer balls, etc., that we had to get a container to put them in. And then Parkview Mission came to us and said, I know that you need a space. We have a space. Let's start a sports locker. And so now if a counsellor in the school or a teacher sees a student who's got potential but doesn't have the things that they need to be able to play the sport that they want to play, they can make an appointment. A student athlete will go to the sports locker. We make sure that we have everything that they need in their size before they go. They go in, it's like a shop, they can go in and start shopping around, but they leave at no cost to them with the equipment they need to continue to play whatever sport they want to. So we're making an impact in people's lives. We're making an impact in the families' lives as well. But for me, it's a great experience for our students to see and interact with the youth. And at the same time, they're getting so much about the learning, about what they can do and how they can impact the community. So that's just a couple of things, but it's becoming a huge program, and it's really not a 501c3. It's just spontaneously being generated by the community and by Lynchburg.
It's not complicated. It's not expensive.
Not at all. There's no overheads.
Yeah,
It's fabulous.
beautiful.
And it's about, how many people are, I think you told me like 30, is it 37 different
We have about
organizations?
36 nonprofits that are
36
engaged in
nonprofits.
this. And we've got a play day coming up very soon, actually, so watch out for that information and try and get it out to as many people as possible, because it is free to the people who come.
And I heard about it because it's not just teachers and coaches that can refer. There is a form that if a parent has that form, and they can not only can they get the equipment that they need to play, and it doesn't have to be a school sport, it can be community sports. A lot of the barriers for people who are in poverty is I can't afford to get the equipment and I can't afford the fees. You can even apply for fee assistance if it costs $60 to play, football for a season, you can apply to get a scholarship so that your child or grandchild, if you're taking care of kin, can be part of that program. Without having to say no all the time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than to have kids involved in something that's productive and gets them engaged with their community. So it's Vision 30. Got
Sure.
Vision 30 written all over it.
I wonder if anybody's come up with the arts version of that. Music and art, right? That's also usually not accessible to a lot of families, right? How do you
Yes.
pay for a violin for a child who's interested in in that.
Right. And so this is one of the things that we're looking to expand into. The Art Academy downtown does fabulous work with youth and providing opportunities for, the art bus, for example, goes all over the place, and you see that well displayed. I think we need to do more of that. And as I say, because the community is so giving, we can offer free or minimal cost if there's anything. But we provide at every one of these events. We try and provide some kind of lunch or dinner, early dinner. And one of the things that I've noticed, which breaks my heart, and sometimes it's good for us to see, but a child will come up and thank us for the meal that they've been given and ask if there's anything that they could take home to their families or if their families are there. And so, especially our play days, we've moved that to feeding whoever comes. And I think that's important as well.
So let me ask you a question about collaboration, because all of this is really happening because of the energy that happens in collaboration. That sounds simple. Let's get together and figure this out. But in reality, it's actually very hard because it doesn't happen very often. But you've been doing this pretty regularly. So what's the secret sauce in collaboration?
I think bringing energy to something and letting people know why it's important to be part of this. And then everybody I've spoken to has said, how can I be involved? When we first rolled out Lynchburg Tomorrow and did a news release on it, since then, almost every week, a community member has said, I heard about Lynchburg Tomorrow. How can I be involved in it? So people are seeing that we're making an impact. And I think if you can show that you're making an impact, people want to come on board and be part of it. And so with the initiatives that we now have, literally talking about newborns to early childhood all the way through to adults and adult learners, if you can show that you're making an impact, then it's huge, and people want to be part of that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just energy, enthusiasm, and I have a lot of that apparently.
Apparently so.
And do not hesitate to also recruit people.
So it gets stuck in the talking when you're saying the success is just doing it and showing that it can be done.
Yeah.
We can do this, right? But you're showing some evidence that it is, and then you got momentum. And once momentum starts, it does get easier, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And as I say, people enjoy being part of it. And
Yeah.
even when I'd say 36 nonprofits, few of them have the goal of helping students with sports, right? But we all have the goal of making a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And so there's no competition. In fact, when we bring everybody together, they have the opportunity to let people know about the services they provide. And so it's a great way of getting their services out into the community and having a bigger impact.
Wow. Well, it's powerful.
It is. And what is it that you say at the beginning of a meeting? You've told me this before. You'll walk into a meeting and say, if you're not going to do anything in this meeting, I'm going home now.
Yes.
If there's no action items, I'm not staying.
Yes, I have a little bit of a reputation. Actually, that was one of the times when we started the Lacey project. I walked in and sat round and said, okay, if we're not going to do anything, I don't have time for it. I'm only involved.
Just throw down the gauntlet at the beginning, huh?
Yeah, you can see people's faces going, okay, we better do something or else, But, I always start with thanking people for coming to the table. And then also making sure that they know that there's going to be a benefit from them being there. But the greater good is to make sure that we're impacting lives. And, particular in the foster care arena, we've got to make sure that those children have the opportunities that others have. And we see a lot of foster parents bringing their children to our programs, and they're very grateful because, again, it gets them out, it doesn't cost them anything, and their kids are getting the kinds of experiences that they deserve and need.
So I think the energy and enthusiasm is important, but I think that we've recognized, I've been part of way too many subcommittees and standing committees and think tanks, and it's just a lot of conversation. And when the meeting's over, nobody has a to-do list, and we just come back next time and talk some more about the things we've been talking about. And this goes on for months, and it's So I think that idea of getting, let's have some action items, let's do something and not just talk about doing things is one of the reasons why Lynchburg Tomorrow is moving the needle, because it is. And so having them as a Vision 30 partner, that particular program is great because we can see different ways that we can intersect.
It's hard to believe that we've already been talking about this for 30 minutes. Feels like we got another 30 minutes of things to talk about. So let me just wrap this up. I was first generation college, right? And it changed my life and changed the family tree for my kids. And I was able to go because of scholarships and a lot of folks who, right, paved a way so that when I went, there was an opportunity for me to go, right? And I know that I'm sure the college has also scholarships. We provide scholarships to kids going into all kinds of different fields. So in closing, we've been talking about how your university is benefiting the community. Now let's talk about, and you can make your appeal, what does the university need? How do we make your institution successful so that that kind of collaboration can continue? I know you could probably always use scholarship money, et cetera. So why don't you end by letting us know what you need?
Okay. Well, again, partnerships is huge. And so at the University of Lynchburg, our goal is to make a difference in the lives of others. And the way we can do that is provide scholarships for people through our endowed scholarships. And so we're always looking for people who are willing to support others to be successful. And that opportunity can happen through our Lynchburg Fund. Mm-hmm. And so anyone who has an interest in programmatic support, in scholarships, in supporting our athletics and our athletes, we're always looking to engage you in doing that. The most important thing that I think we do is we provide a strong, comprehensive university type of education that is grounded in the liberal arts. And so we are letting people have the opportunity to learn those essential skills that help them be so successful. So I just want people to be engaged in the University of Lynchburg. Come and see what we do. Come and visit us. Once you come on campus, you fall in love, and that's what we want to have you think about. And as the ad earlier on noted, when you come to Lynchburg, you're home. You belong. You are part of a community that makes a difference in the lives of others, our community, our nation, and our world. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being with us today. Claudius, always a pleasure.
Always, Mr.
Yes. So, we'll see you next Thursday on Community Connection.
Nobody gets to choose their family. If a person is fortunate enough to be born into a healthy family, then life can be much like floating down a smooth, gentle river in the summertime. But an unhealthy family is like a dangerous river, filled with rocks, debris, and fast-moving water. This river swiftly leads to the steep waterfall of adulthood, tragically forming a new river of dysfunction. Even if you aren't born into an unhealthy river, there are many streams that cause a person to get there. But there is only one way to get out, and that is through a meaningful relationship. Across our region, there are many agencies, churches, and families who are devoted to helping children escape from unhealthy rivers. Some feel their role is to wade in and rescue children. They foster, adopt, or provide safe families. Others stand by the river and support the rescuers by providing what they need. Still, others are upstream and stand in the gap to keep children from ending up in the negative situations. At Patrick Henry Family Services, we see ourselves as having an additional role. We are running up and down the shores of the unhealthy river, screaming, "Can't you see the children in the water? You have to do something." Vision 30 is a 10-year initiative. By 2030, we envision a region where all children are safe in their own family, or with caregivers who are supported by a local faith community. So, where do you stand at the river? Are you upstream, keeping families together and strong by standing in the gap? Are you in the river, directly impacting children? Are you on the shore, providing support for the brave folks who have entered the river? Or are you just passing by without noticing? No matter who you are, come down to the river with us. Let us help you find your place. Not only will lives be changed, but you will never be the same.